our house, we call it fancy breakfast. There's two kinds of breakfast in the germ-proof kids household. There's standard breakfast and there's fancy breakfast. Standard breakfast is what you're responsible for fixing for yourself. My kids are old enough that they can make their own breakfast. And so if they get up in the morning and mom is not available to make breakfast, they are required to make their own breakfast, and they put something together themselves. And a standard breakfast consists of a fruit bowl with something else that they want to have with it, usually a protein and a carbohydrate or starch, something grainy. Anyway, but we're going to do fancy breakfast today. And on fancy breakfast today, that usually means a hot meal instead of a cold one. And what we decided to do this morning is I've, of course, started with the fruit bowl. We did some fruit that I had on hand. I happen to be out of apples. Apples are a real mainstay for us, but I'm out of apples, so I dug through what we had, and we had some pears, and I was very obliging and peeled them for my son. He doesn't care for the peels on pears, and I have to say, do yourself a favor when your kids are young, don't peel the fruit. You'll save yourself hours and hours of kitchen time over the course of your children's lifetime. But I did still peel the pear for him today, but most fruit I do not peel, that the peel can be eaten. Of course, if it's a banana, I peel it. Except if I'm putting it on a charcuterie board. I do fruit charcuterie boards for my kids a lot. And I don't peel the banana then. I leave the peel on, but I slice the banana into chunks and slit the side of it so that when it's on the charcuterie board, it doesn't spoil, and you can just pick up the chunk of banana and whip off that little chunk of peel that's still on it. That keeps it fresh, and then you can go ahead and eat the banana. But this morning we did pears. I had some grapes that I put into the bowl with it, and I took a cutie orange in each one. I peeled it, and I just sliced the cutie orange in half. I'm not into making a big production out of breakfast, but it still looks appealing in the bowl. Would you guys agree that the fruit bowl looks appealing? Yeah, you can't see it on this because it's a podcast, but I thought that it was a very cute little fruit bowl. So that makes the fruit appealing, which is, of course, going to be the basis of keeping your kids germ-proof and making sure that half or more of the meal consists of raw fruit, vegetables, and other vegetation. That's number one, so that goes out first. I set them on the table so if I have a kid coming in hungry, they can munch on the fruit while they're waiting for the rest of the meal. Or if they just come in at mealtime, that it's just there for them sitting next to their plate. So second item on the plate was a new recipe we tried today. I like to have standbys, things that my kids know and love, and then I like to rotate in trying things in the context of a meal that they already have stuff that they know that they love. So the thing that they knew that they loved today was some wild elk breakfast sausage that we make homemade, and both of them really, really enjoy it. So we just make sure that there's something on the plate that they know they're gonna like, that's a no-brainer, and then we can introduce something new, and it's in the context of trying something new, and then it's not as overwhelming because it's just next to something they know they already like. And the new item on the plate this morning was more vegetation. We made barbecue butternut browns, is what I'm calling them. They're hash browns made from cubed butternut squash that I roast in the air fryer with some seasonings, and then they put barbecue sauce on them, kind of like you would a hash brown, but it's a butternut squash base, of course, and so that's going to act as a cleanser in the body as well, and make sure that we are getting rid of all of the metabolic waste, and it really pumped up the volume of cleansers we had at this meal. So it was a good side dish. And then in addition to that, we had that and the sausage, we had some sprouted grain toast. And that's also something that my kids look at and say, hot buttered toast, I like that. I put out some organic strawberry jam to go with it if they wanted it. And so the butternut browns end up being not such an overwhelming thing. Now, the whole meal actually came together quite quickly. I'm really fast at chopping up butternut squash because I've been chopping for a long time, but I do happen to know that if you live near a Trader Joe's will do the job for you very economically, and they even cut them into these cool little, they look like crinkle fries. And my family loves those whenever I'm near a Trader Joe's, which I am not currently because I live quite rurally, but when I mosey into town, I will always pick up at least a couple of packages of those because they air fry up into such nice little crispy butternut fries, I guess, if you will. Anyway, so I'm quite quick at cutting them up, so it doesn't take me very long. I preheat the air fryer while I'm cutting, and I throw those in first because they take the longest. Then I start in, of course, the fruit bowls are already sitting on the table because I've already cut those up, but then I start in on the sausage after I get those butternut squash into the air fryer. Because I'm all about quick because I do not want to spend all day in the kitchen. I enjoy cooking, but I do not want to spend all day in the kitchen. So I try to streamline and have everything come out about the same time. Anyway, so I get the sausage going next. And one little hint that I wanted to share is I made a lot more of these foods than we needed. We're going to have leftover butternut browns and leftover sausage, so that I can quickly reheat these for breakfast tomorrow or another day this week. That's a really good strategy. Make more than you need, sock it away, and heat it up in an air fryer or on the stove top later in the week so that you can streamline breakfast preparation on another day. Another strategy that I used is after I'm done frying sausage, there is a lot of, what do you call it? It's a fond, that's the official term, in the bottom of the pan. And when you have a fond in a pan and you just throw it out, it's a darn shame. So what I did, and especially since this was wild caught meat, that was, this is extremely valuable, hard to get a hold of. You have to go to a lot of great work and effort to get it. What I did was deglaze the sausage pan after I was done frying all of the sausage. I just added water to it and used the spatula to scrape up the little brown bits. And I came away with a nice, rich broth that I'm going to be able to throw into a recipe I have planned for later this week. It'll have really nice, rich flavor and good ingredients because it was made from our homemade sausage. We actually, because we have kids, they're not sausage at our house. You want to tell us what it's called, son?
Snossages.
My son calls them snossages. And it's his recipe. He's a great chef. He's been cooking since he was about 5. He's now 13, so you can tell by his voice that it's starting to drop, and we're wondering how much longer we can call him a kid. But he does a good job making sausage, and we really enjoy his recipe, mostly because it's got a fair amount of 100% real maple syrup in it, and it comes out quite nice. Anyway, we serve that breakfast up, of course, with something fermented. We have a little sauerkraut going on the table because I always want to include a ferment at least once a day with your kids to make sure that microbiome is healthy and up to par. If you've joined us for any of the microbiome discussions, you'll remember that the first line of defense against anything is your microbiome. You want to make sure that it's healthy. So I always do a ferment with that. And of course, we made up all of our sauerkraut last fall when we were harvesting the cabbages. I didn't harvest them. That's kind of deceptive. When the farmer harvested the cabbages, and we bought them from the farm stand, so we got some good non-sprayed cabbages. He doesn't claim to be completely organic, but he doesn't use any chemicals on his farm, so that's, a vote of confidence in his favor. And his cabbages weigh about 5 pounds a piece, which is a very good-sized cabbage, and he only charges me like $2 for them. So it's a great economy as well, considering you pay upwards of $12 for a quart of good quality sauerkraut in a grocery store. We are paying $2 for a half gallon of sauerkraut, and it really only takes a few minutes to make. You can check out my information on making your own sauerkraut as well. And that's going to do it for our podcast today. A few little strategies to help you streamline in and get some good breakfast on the table several days a week. And this is Tracy and GermProof Kids signing out.